Hello, everyone. I'm Justin Silverman of the New England First Amendment Coalition. Welcome to another 30-minute skills class. Today, we'll be discussing how to find high-quality data for your stories. For those of you who are new to our program, please check out our previous lessons at nefac.org/30-minute skills. You'll find their classes on Microsoft Excel, data cleaning, web scraping, and data visualization, among many other topics relevant to journalism and open government. We have a lot to get to and not a lot of time, so let's get started. Joining us today is Margot Williams, the research editor for investigations at The Intercept. Margot, thank you for being here.
Thanks very much. I'm Margot Williams, and I am actually a news researcher. My background is as a librarian, and I have been doing research in newsrooms for more than 40 years. So I'm going to talk about a lot of basic skills for conducting research on investigations. Okay, so you might not be familiar with there being researchers in a newsroom, and there used to be a lot more of us than there are now, but because of layoffs and newspapers shutting down and whatever. But these are some of the skills that researchers use in being a part of a team in a newsroom. And we're always part of a team. We're not lone wolves. So we do backgrounding, we do training, we analyze data. So a lot of things. And let me just go on about how we think about setting out on looking for a answer to a question or looking for data, working on a project. What I do before I start searching is I think about what the answer would look like instead of going into Google and typing in words, like, and then who will have that answer, so that I'm not just asking Google to tell me where the answer is, but I'm specifically saying, I need it from a university, I need it from a government organization, I need it from whichever place I might need it, a newspaper. So I would specifically search within those places. I also think about what kind of format it will be in. Am I looking for a document, a PDF document? Am I looking for a report that would be in a PDF? Am I looking for data that would be in a spreadsheet? You can use Google's advanced search features to narrow searches so that you are looking specifically what you want to find. And so you're finding and not searching. Part of that is what keywords you put in your question are the keywords that are going to be in the resource that you're looking for the answer from. So it may be in a different language, and you may need to use a translation tool to search for the same terms in another language, or it may just be in some kind of jargon that you should be using in your search. Another thing to think about is, will the thing you're looking for be online? It may not be online. It may be older. It may be in a, quote, book, unquote. It may be in some other place that is not an online source, like going to the Library of Congress or a research library or the public library to find things that are not available online. And the last is this a thing that even exists or may exist in a place where it is not available to the public, in which case you may need to file a Freedom of Information request for that document, or you may need to actually create something yourself by finding the data and organizing it in a way that allows you to analyze it. So part of what I just said was about things that are not indexed by search engines, and that some of the types of things would be information within databases that is only searchable on site, or data that's only downloadable. So an example of this is the Bureau of Prisons website for the US Department of Prisons. You need to go to that website and put in the prisoner's name, and then you will come up with the data from that. A lot of archives and public record information is not available through a Google search because they're in databases, and Google can't search within databases. So there's just a number of places that you would need to go outside of Google to get to the data that you need. Things that are updated every day. Google scans through and scrapes through and billions of pages a day, but they can't get to every page every day. And if the database has changed that day, you won't get to it through Google, and you have to go to the original site. So I'm going to show you some tools for locating databases where you can go to those first and then find the specific site you need to go to. So what are all these sources we use for investigations? And you know very well all of these places to go: companies, industry organizations, places to look for courts, legal and international law, academic information, shipping information, maybe if you're working on that, statistical information, social media. That's a separate, also thing that you may need to go to the social media sites and learn how to mine them. And besides all of this information, there is a whole huge range of sources that are fee-based. So you have to use your thinking cap and your budget and figure out if you should be using some of these fee-based sources of valuable information rather than just trying to find things for free while searching online. So there's many tools and skills that we use in doing investigative research. And by the way, it's research. It just means open source intelligence is just research. It's stuff that we find that is open to us, and that we can. It is not classified. It's not proprietary. It's not private information. It's open information. So some of this open information would be primary sources and public records, which social media is a primary source, but court records are a primary source, and government documents, corporate records, real estate records, archives and manuscripts, and things that are in FOIA reading rooms. I always think about, like, if it's a leak, is it an open source document? Well, it's open source once it's leaked because it's posted on the web, but it could be a classified or proprietary company information that has been leaked by a whistleblower or has been hacked and then posted. So you have to discuss this before you publish information from a leak. Other kinds of tools that are available are secondary sources like news sites, news archives, reference books, online or not online, translated works, fact-checking sites, and of course, Wikipedia. These are, secondary sources of information. And then there are the fee-based that I just mentioned. When you're searching in Nexus, Lexis, Factiva, Westlaw, if you have access to accurate TLO or PIPO, if you have access to a site from the UK called Arachnis, and if you are able to log on to your alum organization at your former campus, if you have access to ProQuest and JSTOR. Another tool is called Sayari. These are just examples of all of the different kinds of fee-based sources that are really valuable and important and necessary to do a full investigation. So when you're looking to see what kind of fee-based source you might need, you have to think of all of these things, which are actually, traditional librarian skills, which is where I'm from, which is like, what is the source of the information? What is the scope of the information? How many years does it cover? What countries does it cover? That kind of scope note. Is it easy to search? Does it have a good search? Is it updated frequently? And then, of course, what does it cost? So you wonder whether what it has in it in your evaluation is worth the price. And what is in your toolbox? So we could have a whole list of things of what you have available to you, and that would be something to share. If you have any questions about that, put it in the Q&A. Maybe we can share some information there. So as far as searching in Google, there's many search functions that you can use that make it more specific. So it's not just your words and then what rises to the top, frequently along with an ad. So the advanced search page, which I'm going to show you, you could just use that to figure out what the terminology is to search, and then you don't need to use that advanced search page anymore. One thing I like to point out is that I go to the Google, my personal dashboard in Google, and I delete or get rid of all of this special features that Google has to bring me things that that I've seen before. So I turn off the type ahead, I turn off the whatever it is that is your interest. I want to come fresh to Google every time I do a search there. So this is what the advanced search form looks like. So you can see that you're able to search any of these words, none of these words, all of these little tools in a language, on a website. An example here is, the great thing about Google is it's a wonderful search engine, but some sites have search engines on the site that are lousy. So sorry if you're from Library of Congress, but the search on Library of Congress is not as good as Google itself. So you can search with the Google search function, with the Google search engine at another site, like by putting in the word site, colon, and in this example, loc.gov, which Barbara was able to find more information about the person she was looking for by using Google to search Library of Congress than actually searching the Library of Congress search box. So we're going beyond here. I'm just putting in some few links. And if you are interested in getting my links, you can write to me at my email address, and I have a handout that I can send to you. I'm not an expert in using social media tools and in searching them for disinformation, but Jane Litvinenko is, and there's the verification handbook from European Journalism Center that is updated and a very good tool to use to learn how to do that kind of work. Also, Bellingcat has a page with all the sources they use for their research. And Maliki at the New York Times, he has a really simple page with a great list of sources. And another thought is that there are also other search engines that are not Google. For example, this one, which is DuckDuckGo, which does not keep information about your searches or about you. There are also other sources of information, of news information, and this one is a global news service from the EU called EMM Newsbrief, and it has about 15, 20 languages that you can search in, as you can see in the box there. Another kind of search engine is to search in a site like GPO, the government GovInfo site, and you can search through all of the Federal Register and the Congressional Record and all of these different US government sources at the same time or separately on this site called GovInfo. Another place that I use to find, if I'm trying to figure out where I need to go for data and information, is to go to subject guides that have been put together at university libraries. This one at Georgetown is on security and intelligence studies. This one at University of Nevada, Las Vegas is a tool for finding information about gambling and gaming, because that's their specialty there. This is a site from OCCRP, Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which is based in Sarajevo. And they have a database that they've collected data from leaks and from government sites that they've scraped. It's a great place to go to look for data and links to data for global research. ICIJ, where I'm a member, also has the offshore leaks database online. It's a great place to go looking for people who have offshore companies and who is behind them. This comes from the leaks that ICIJ has been working with for many years, and they have made the data available in the offshore leaks database. Global Investigative Journalism Network is another journalism organization that has an enormous number of resource guides for searching on specific topics. I recommend going there to the help desk page so that you can see what journalists around the world have been using in the award-winning projects that they've published. I also try to find experts by looking in directories of experts that are credible, like this directory of scholars of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, and it's from Columbia University. when you're working on a project that has to do with any kind of industry, of course, there's an industry association or more than one for most industries. And this is one that is just an example of lotteries. So the lottery organization has a membership and they have pages and a website to help their members who are lottery companies and gambling companies. Often I would go to a lot of different sites to find state laws and legislation in progress, but the National Conference of State Legislatures has its website and also is very willing to help journalists. So other kinds of cool tools that I gather together is like whenever I need to do different kinds of math, rather than just looking at my phone, the journalist toolbox has many things on it, but one thing that I use it for is the Math for Journalists page, so that you can find all kinds of calculators, converters, and other kind of tools to make sure that your numbers that you're using are bulletproof. These are just some people that I follow because I want to see, they know more than I do about a lot of things, and they have tools that they share as well. So the trick is to make your own toolbox for every project. And I have an exercise that I can send you if you'd like, which is when you're given a new project, what are the things that you need to put together so that you can get going? What are the sites that you need to collect? What are the databases that you need to collect? Ways to go about that. So it's just basic reporting, it's research, but it's the same things that when you're doing your reporting. The sources have to be trusted. If you're on deadline and you're competing, you have to get there first. Should get the documents in case they that they might disappear. And you just have to keep on going, gathering string, verifying, fact checking, and going over it. So I tend to depend on public records. So what I have in the handout that I'll send to you is a big selection of public records, places to find public records. And there are several different sites for you to go to that will tell you in a certain state, in a certain country, where would you find the property records? Where would you find the court records? Where would you find land records? So these sites help you get to those places. Just an example of using one kind of tool for other things is this is the Federal Election Commission campaign finance database. And when no one knew where Edward Snowden lived, it turned out he had given a campaign contribution to Ron Paul, and it had his address in the US and other stuff that helped us figure out who he was. At that point, we had the address, put in the address, and the real estate agent that rented the place to him, her name and phone number and email were in there. So that was like a clue to get you someplace on deadline. I know that we're waiting to get a lot of other questions, but I just want to go through some more things. Finding people and some of the tools you use to find people. Of course, LinkedIn is really great, but it won't give you anyone's email and it won't give you their phone number. So then you have to go on from LinkedIn to try to find where the person is. If the person is in a licensed occupation, which it's like doctors and lawyers, but not just that, but manicurists and plumbers and electricians in every county in every state is licensed. And so you can go to a few of these sites to try to find whether someone has a license in a profession, and including pilots, of course. At the FIA site, there's a whole database of every pilot who is certified and where they live and information about them. Just another example with the Pulse nightclub horror that happened. On that day, we were able to find that the perpetrator had a license in Florida for being a security officer and had a firearms license. So you can just go to different websites. Here was his mortgage. So you can just go to different public record sites in a state. And if the person's in Florida, you really have a lot of luck, because Florida is where an enormous number of records are available online. Voter registration, for example, here's his Florida voter registration. So all kinds of information is available. New York City has great property records. For the 5 boroughs in New York, it's called ACRIS. You go in there, you find the mortgages, you find, the deeds, you find all kinds of information about a piece of property, the original with the signatures on it and everything. UK, has the same kind of thing, but you have to pay for the UK site. Yearbooks is another great source of information. And they are also original primary sources. They're yearbooks. So you can go into all kinds of places to get someone's yearbook, find when they graduated and find who their classmates were. Then maybe you'd want to get in touch with them for an interview. This is finding Gina Haspel, the director of the CIA, when she was first, now she's no longer, but when she was first appointed, finding out what school she went to, and information is her high school graduation picture. I know we need to go, but I just want to point out that the Internet Archive Wayback Machine is an essential tool for finding web pages and documents that are no longer there. The URL has died. The link doesn't work. Pages have been removed. Websites change. Websites have died or disappeared. Content has been removed intentionally. Oh no, where do you find it? Go to the Wayback Machine. And this is just an article about how many hyperlinks have died. But when you're doing your research, a good idea to help yourself and others on the Wayback Machine page in the lower right corner is save this page. All you do have to click, and then that page is saved forever for the Wayback Machine for you and your others. And I use that URL now when I footnote my work, because I know that that page will not be dead. It will be available on the Wayback Machine. And the example I use for that is the Iraq Coalition Provisional Authority. When the US was in charge of Iraq for that brief period, that site is gone, but the Iraq Coalition Provisional Authority lives on at the Internet Archive. So I could get really much further into courts and criminal justice, but I'm waiting for your questions, and we'll see how that goes.
Margot, if you could, while we're waiting for questions, please continue. Maybe if you could tell us if there are like maybe one or two very specific sources that you could refer people to if they don't have a lot of experience with databases, if they're just starting to research a particular issue, other than using those great tools for Google. Are there any other sources of data that you'd point people to?
Oh, well, one thing that I use is Statista. That's you can have a free subscription to part of the Statista database. What I just recommend is to go to the source that's for your topic. I mean, and to find the best source that's for your topic, and find the, so there's enormous amount of data, but it has to be for the story that you're working on. So
one question here related to climate change in Africa. Any good starting points for this particular reporter? Again, working on stories related to climate change in Africa.
I would go to the GIJN help desk page. I know they have international resource guides to different topics, and I know climate change in Africa has to be one of them, because they have so many members, that contribute to these sites, and that's a big topic we know for Africa.
Excellent. Another question. We have a financial journalist in Bangladesh, looking for more information than you provide today, additional resources, references. What is the best way to get in touch with you for those that may have follow-up questions or looking for some of the additional materials that you referenced?
I'm margot.williams@gmail.com, and I'm at Margot Williams on Twitter. DM me, you can get to me there.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Margot. Appreciate it. These are all great suggestions, a lot of resources. And for those that are looking to educate themselves more about data sets, database reporting, please, again, check out nefac.org/30-minute skills. You'll find all of our lessons there pertaining to database reporting and a lot of other really important, helpful topics. Many thanks again, Margot. Appreciate it. And thank you all to those who joined us today. We look forward to seeing you next month for our next 30-minute skills.